More than a dozen people were charged and cited in the bust of a chicken fighting ring. That was discovered in Casey County.
Most are charged with cruelty to animals. WKYT's Phil Pendleton has the details.
Kentucky State Police say they charged the people after they received a complaint of this operation taking place in the Bethel Ridge community. Now, this complaint that there was an organized chicken fighting operation taking place there. Police arrested more than a dozen people, including 59-year-old Leo, 39-year-old Christopher Harris. Most of the people charged were cited to court. Animal Wellness Action was among the organizations that tipped police off to what was taking place.
Saw all of the telltale signs. There was a caged area where the birds are contained to fight, seating for spectators. This place even had a concession stand so you could get some Cracker Jack or something while you're watching these birds fight to the death.
Grove tells me that Kentucky is only one of a few states that does not have very strong laws against cockfighting operations. It is basically a misdemeanor in Kentucky, where he tells me that in other states it is considered a felony, and he says Kentucky needs to toughen their laws. There actually was an effort to do that this past legislative session, but it actually never received a vote to get it out of committee. In Casey County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Police say Leo Harris owned the property where that operation was taking place.